Hi everyone, welcome back to Papa's Workshop. Today's video is about building an open style linen cabinet for a bathroom. Now this cabinet is going to have fixed shelves, so it's a very simple design, easy to build, and I'm going to take you along and show you exactly how I built it today. This is a look at the finished cabinet already installed. And here's a look at what we started with. This was a remodel that was never completed by the homeowner. This used to be a shower, and it was removed and just the space was left like this. Well, my goal was to be able to put in an open-faced linen closet. Now, as far as the rest of the remodel, it actually looked quite nice. They took out the tub, put in a walk-in type of a shower, so they did not need this small space for the shower any longer. For this project, I'm using 1/2-inch plywood to build this cabinet. Yes, you heard me correctly. I'm using 1/2-inch plywood versus the standard 3/4-inch plywood that is typically used for a project such as this. I also pre-painted everything. So this plywood is actually painted with 2 coats of the white paint. As far as the size of this cabinet, it's going to be 16 inches deep, 27 inches wide, and 89 inches tall. So that's going to give you the overall size for this cabinet. The first step, of course, is to be able to cut out the basic sides for this box. I'm going to cut out the 2 sides and the back. And with all the sides cut, the next step is to cut it to the height. So this again is 89 inches tall. I put the blue tape down to eliminate some of the tear out, and this made it where I could set up the circular saw, cut this to the correct height, and eliminate the tear out because of the blue tape. So this worked out really well. Now this is the back that I'm cutting right now. I'm going to repeat and do the same exact process for the 2 sides. I highly recommend this process. It really helps to eliminate virtually all of the tear out. You mark exactly where your cut line is and then securely fasten the blue tape over that line. And then you can easily cut that and eliminate the tear out, and that does not damage the paint itself. Now I'm using a piece of scrap plywood as a guide to be able to control the circular saw to make a good even cut. But in the past I've used just about any type of material to form that guide, and I've even built jigs to be able to do the same thing to be able to support the saw while I'm cutting that. Using this tape method really does produce excellent results. There's no damage to the plywood and there's no damage to the paint. I used the tape measure and laid out exactly where I wanted to have each of the individual shelves, and I marked a line on the back of the cabinet. And that gives me the precise location for the evenly spaced shelves. For this next step, I wanted to add a rabbet joint on each side of the back of this cabinet. That will give me a cabinet that will fit together very tightly, and it'll have a larger gluing surface. Now you have 2 choices. You can use a stacked dado set on the table saw, or in my case I decided to use the router table. For this setup I simply put in a 3/4 inch straight bit to be able to make the cut, and then I adjusted the fence so that it would cut a 1/2-inch rabbet joint. And I did this on both sides of this back of the cabinet. Next, I cut all of the shelves that I'm going to need for the cabinet, and with this I have all the parts. It's time to assemble the cabinet now. Since I work alone in the shop, I need some extra hands, so using these right angle clamps really are a lifesaver to be able to hold everything in place while I glue and nail the parts together. I added these 1-inch strips to help support the shelves so there would be no bowing. Next, I added a decorative strip across the front of each of the shelves. Now this strip is 1.5 inches wide and is solid 3/4 inch pine material. And this adds a lot of strength to the shelf to prevent the bowing, and it also covers up that little strip that I put around the shelf itself. In addition to that, I added a little decorative touch just to make it look a little bit nicer and give a little bit of design to the cabinet itself. Of course, I attached them using the glue and the nails to be able to securely hold them in place. Once the strips were all in place, it was time to put the final coat of paint on. Much easier to paint it in the shop than on the job site installed. The installation of this, very straightforward. All I needed to do was slide it into the space. I did have one support near the top of the cabinet that I was able to slide it in and touch and support it, screw it in at that point, and then added the face frame to the front of the cabinet. All that's left is a little bit of painting of the face frame, and this project will be finished. Well, there you have a very simple design that just about anyone can do with very simple, modest tools. There's no fancy joinery, there is no fancy cuts, and it's still made for a very, very effective cabinet that's going to get many years of good use out of. So when you do a project like this, you do not need to overcomplicate it. Keep it simple and straightforward, and it's going to work out real well for you. Now, the cabinets in this particular home was a shaker style, and this cabinet that I built was the same thing. I wanted to be able to keep it very similar in style to what was already in the home. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, by all means, hit that little subscribe button down below and the bell notification next to it, and you will be notified of the different videos that I'm uploading. And I do have quite a few coming. Okay. So I look forward to seeing each and every one of you in the next video on whatever project that I'm working on. So for now, bye-bye, and I'll see you real soon.